The 5th SS Viking Division, or Viking, stands out as a unique entity in the annals of military history, famous for its exceptional performance on the battlefield. The division's distinction lies not only in its combat record, but also its diverse makeup. Unlike many German panzer divisions of the time, the ranks of the Viking were composed mainly of volunteers from various European countries, which made it a symbol of pan-European cooperation and shared military objectives during the Second World War. What distinguishes the Vikings is their remarkable ability to take advantage of the skills of soldiers from different cultures and nationalities. This diversity brought a great wealth of perspectives, tactics, and experiences to the battlefield, enriching the strategies and adaptability of the division in the face of the ever-changing conditions of war. At the heart of the Viking success was their commitment to fostering camaraderie despite linguistic and cultural differences. The soldiers forged strong bonds based on mutual respect, shared goals, and a common cause. This cohesion not only reinforced morale, but improved operational effectiveness, allowing the division to achieve remarkable feats in combat. After the triumphs of the Lion SS Adolf Hitler Infantry Regiment, the SS Führungsstreitmacht Division, and the SS Totenkopf Division during the initial campaigns in Poland and the Western Front, the strategic need arose to increase the Waffen SS with a significant increase in foreign volunteers, particularly from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Belgium. It was considered prudent to create a division of volunteers within the SS that would operate under the command of German officers. This decision reflected the recognition of the diversity of people prepared for combat and willing to contribute to the cause of the Axis, attracted by a myriad of motivations ranging from ideological fervor to nationalist sentiments. By incorporating these volunteers into the framework of the SS, the Axis powers sought to leverage their skills, dedication, and deep knowledge of their respective regions, thereby enhancing the overall effectiveness and reach of their military operations under the direction of German officers. This division of volunteers would undergo rigorous training and indoctrination to ensure cohesion, discipline, and adherence to the norms and objectives of the SS. The Germania Regiment, previously part of the SS Reich Division, was reassigned to reinforce the newly formed volunteer regiments Westland and Nordland, initially designated SS Germania Infantry Division. Confusion with an existing regiment caused a name change on December 20th. The division was officially renamed Viking. At the head of this new division was SS Obergrundführer Felix Steiner, a respected former Army officer. His leadership brought stability and experience to the unit, ensuring its preparedness for future challenges. In February 1941, the Finnish volunteer unit was integrated into the Viking Division, forming the Finnish SS Volunteer Battalion. Many Finns would be first to join this German division, as the Great Soviet threat remained present since the Winter War. This incorporation reinforced the division and further diversified its composition, highlighting collaboration between the Axis forces. Once again, the division's recruits underwent weeks of rigorous training in Hyuk. This training regime encompassed a wide range of skills, such as weapons handling, anti-tank tactics, and combat techniques. The soldiers were thoroughly trained in the handling and maintenance of their firearms, ensuring that they were experts in the handling of rifles, machine guns, and other commonly used weapons. In addition, specialized training was given in anti-tank warfare, teaching soldiers how to effectively engage and neutralize enemy armored vehicles using anti-tank guns, grenades, and other equipment. This training was crucial given the prevalence of armored units on the battlefield during World War II. Music. In June 1941, about half the division soldiers were volunteers from European countries, including Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Finland, the former Baltic states, and other nations. In particular, some of these volunteers had already gained combat experience fighting on the Finnish side against the Red Army during the Winter War of 1939 to 1940. The inclusion of Winter War veterans enhanced the division's combat readiness, as these individuals brought first-hand knowledge of Soviet tactics and terrain, invaluable assets in the looming conflict on the Eastern Front. Their presence served as a testament to the interconnectedness of European geopolitics and the fluidity of loyalties during this period of history. As the division prepared for its greater role in the greatest conflict in history, the invasion of the Soviet Union, and underwent intense preparations. In mid-May, the division moved to western Poland, anticipating deployment for Operation Barbarossa, assigned to the 3rd Panzer Corps of the Southern Army Group. The SS Viking Division was ready to play a crucial role in the Axis offensive against Soviet forces. Music. Many thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever. This adrenaline-filled experience is available for free on PC and consoles. Immerse yourself in the action and take command of an impressive arsenal of more than 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes of the 1920s to modern combat aircraft and main battle tanks. War Thunder offers a captivating journey through military history, where incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects put you in command of the most powerful war machines of our time. With an astonishing level of sophistication in vehicle damage models, every component, from engines to crew, is susceptible to damage or being disabled by enemy fire. Experience the impressive X-ray view of the damage, which offers a detailed breakdown of the destruction. Join a global community of over 70 million players in epic PvP battles that make War Thunder an unparalleled gaming experience. With 3 distinct modes, arcade, realistic, and simulator, the game caters to all types of players. In addition, unleash your creative side with customization options that include camouflages, historical markings, and decorations for all types of vehicles. But that's not all. Play War Thunder for free using my link in the pinned comment or in the video description. And here comes the exciting part. New or returning players who have not played in the last 6 months will receive a huge bonus package on all platforms. This exclusive offer includes premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Vala Vehicle Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. Music. The division was delayed until June 29, 1941, a week after the start of Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Despite this delay, the SS Viking Division quickly entered action in Russia, operating in the Tarnopol region to neutralize retreating Soviet units. This marked the beginning of its participation on the Eastern Front, where it would play a key role in the conflict. In August 1941, the division advanced to Yumen, where it participated in the encirclement and capture of a major Soviet force. This operation resulted in the capture by the Germans of over 100,000 Soviet soldiers, a major victory for the Axis forces. The contribution of the SS Viking Division to this success consolidated its reputation as a formidable combat force on the Eastern Front. In union with the Luftwaffe's Hermann Göring Panzer Division, the Viking Division stood firm in the crucible of the Battle of Korsun, demonstrating its determination to advance, cross the Dnieper River, and hold its position until August 21st despite relentless attacks by the Red Army. The division showed a remarkable defense, holding the line against all odds, undeterred by the intense resistance. The division persisted in its relentless advance toward the strategic objective of Rostov-on-Don, overcoming all obstacles up to that point in the operation. After this, the Viking Division found itself under the operational control of the 14th Panzer Corps as it embarked on a strategic march toward Oktyabrsky. At the end of November 1941, the division had reached a significant milestone by successfully crossing the Myoz River, near the Sea of Azov, and penetrating into the territory north of Rostov. The division persisted in its march toward Rostov-del-Don, without letting itself be intimidated by the increasingly tough resistance, and engaged in intense combats for the control of the city. The division played a crucial role in the fierce combats, but, despite its efforts, the Soviets fought fiercely and the division received the order to withdraw to the Myoz River line in November. During this period, the German offensive began to lose vigor as the harsh winter conditions weakened the troops and slowed their advance in the face of relentless enemy counterattacks. The Viking Division was forced to switch from offensive maneuvers to a defensive posture along the Myoz River from January until June 1942. The Vikings remained firm on the Meuse, entrenched in defensive positions while the harsh winter months dragged on, despite the formidable challenges posed by the harsh and relentless enemy attacks. The division remained firm and defended the line. At the beginning, the officers in charge of supervising the deployment of the SS Viking Division were skeptical regarding its combat capacity, which led them to doubt when assigning crucial operations to the division. However, with time, the division repeatedly demonstrated its effectiveness on the battlefield, showing its mettle and capacity, and little by little it earned the admiration of the High Command. After defending the Meuse until June 1942, the SS Viking Division received an important reinforcement with the arrival of the 3rd Battalion of Armored Engineers and the 3rd Detachment of Armored Motorized Reconnaissance. These units brought with them a formidable array of armored combat vehicles of infantry and light armored vehicles, which improved the mobility and the firepower of the division on the battlefield. In addition to these units, the division had the support of the SS Anti-Aircraft Detachment and the SS Tank Detachment. In particular, the Tank Detachment, initially destined for the SS Das Reich Division, was quickly redirected to reinforce the Viking Division. This demonstrates the great confidence that the High Command had in it. This reassignment, motivated by the urgent need for additional forces, caused the Tank Detachment to hurriedly meet in Fallingbostel and Wildflecken in February 1942 with 4 tank companies. This formidable incorporation significantly increased the combat capacity of the Viking Division, which allowed it to face its adversaries with greater confidence and effectiveness. After its successful defense during the harsh winter of 1941 to 1942, the SS Viking Division received the order to recover Rostov and Anden and advance toward the region of the Caucasus with the objective of securing its crucial oil fields. Music. In my view, the main German thrust consisted of an advance through the north led by the 1st Panzer Army of von Kleist, while the 17th took a more direct route from the west toward the city. The spearhead of the initial assault were the 14th and 22nd Panzer Divisions, followed quickly by the SS Viking Division. During the first phases of the assault, the 14th Panzer Division surrounded the city after 1 or 2 days of combat, while the 22nd remained in combat longer. Meanwhile, Viking was involved in intense urban combats, methodically clearing the city block by block. The division relied mainly on its panzer regiments, equipped mostly with long Panzer IIIs to move through the difficult urban terrain and engage in close combat with the determined Soviet defenders. The battle was brutal and the Vikings suffered casualties, but it continued fighting in the city. After taking Rostov at the end of September 1942, the SS Viking Division was positioned strategically for a decisive offensive destined to take the vital city of Grozny, in collaboration with General de Panetro and the 13th Panzer Division of Trotha. Meticulous coordination was established to guarantee the success of the operation to capture this key urban center. Upon arriving at the Terek River, the Soviet defenses were significantly fortified and multiple belts of obstacles presented formidable challenges that had to be overcome before reaching the crucial Georgian Highway, which served as a vital supply route for the American provisions. Recognizing the complexity of the situation, Felix Steiner made the strategic decision to divide his division into 4 separate columns, to each of which distinct objectives were assigned, but all shared the common objective of breaking the Soviet defenses and establishing a passage toward the Caspian Sea. The SS Nordland Regiment received the task of launching an assault along the Kerp River toward Malgobek. Meanwhile, the SS Panzer Viking Battalion, supported by units of the SS Germania Regiment, received the critical mission of breaking the main line of defense and securing a bridgehead. Simultaneously, the SS Westland Regiment was tasked with capturing the city of Sagoption. In addition, the engineering unit of the division, in collaboration with the remaining forces of Germania, had to advance along the highway. The attack began during the night of September 25th to 26th, 1942. However, the assault led by Nordland quickly encountered obstacles, since the soldiers realized that not only were they outnumbered by the Red Army, but they also faced well-fortified enemy positions. In barely 30 minutes, almost half of the soldiers of the regiment had fallen in combat. Despite the adversity, they managed to capture the hill. In recognition of his leadership and courage during the intense battle, the commander of the regiment, Fritz von Scholz, was decorated with the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross on October 6th. The division managed to capture Malgobec, but its most important objective, music, in the first week of November 1942 on October 6th. The division managed to capture Malbuck, but its most important objective, music, in the first week of November of 1942, in the midst of changes in the strategic priorities, the division suffered a restructuring, passing from the T-Bin sector to the Uruk-Alaga sector. This transfer was part of a broader effort to revitalize the offensive campaign, this time directed toward Orджonikidze instead of the previous objective, Grozny. Just in time, the division played a fundamental role in the liberation of the 13th Panzer Division from a possible encirclement in Giselle, demonstrating its adaptability and agility on the battlefield. After this audacious rescue mission, the division quickly established defensive positions along the formidable Fiagdan River, ready to face any new challenge that presented itself. At the end of 1942, when the harsh Russian winter descended again, the SS Viking Division had distinguished itself with a remarkable success in combat, earning the prestigious status of Panic Grenadier Division in the midst of the rugged terrain of the Caucasus. The soldiers coming from diverse European nations had demonstrated exceptional resilience and determination, remaining firm along the Terek River during the intense operations near Grozny. But everything was about to change with the encirclement of the 6th Army in Stalingrad. At that moment, the entire army was besieged, and almost 1 million men were in danger. An emergency communication was received to put an end to abruptly any plan of advance in the Caucasus. Consequently, Viking received the mission of assuming the positions that the 23rd Panzer Division previously occupied. This transfer allowed the 23rd Panzer Division to be quickly transported by railroad to Kotelnikovo, where it would join the efforts to liberate the besieged forces in Stalingrad. Music. As the operation encountered obstacles due to the Soviet advance against the Italian army in the Middle Don region, the security of the Caucasian position became increasingly precarious. Erich von Manstein, in command of Army Group South, proposed a plan to reinforce another attempt towards Stalingrad by deploying the 16th Motorized Infantry Division from the Elista sector. To facilitate this, Viking began his train journey on December 24th, while his front line was divided. However, upon his arrival on December 31st, the division was forced to fill the void left by the destruction of the Romanian Corps on the right flank of the 57th Panzer Corps on the 26th, and it was entrusted with the difficult task of assisting in a retreat towards Rostov to cover the inevitable retreat of Army Group A from the Caucasus, a decision that was received with fury and resistance by Adolf Hitler. The division retreated through several key points, including Zimovniki, Kubel-Predeskaya, ensuring that the bridge over the Manik River remained accessible, Zelina, and Yalika, while heading towards B and Rostov. Finally, they managed to escape through the Rostov Gap on February 4th, ensuring their retreat from the region. Everything that this division had known and fought for was fading week after the catastrophic event at Stalingrad and the subsequent collapse of the Axis forces. In February and March 1943, there was a major gap in the front line. The SS Viking Division was entrusted with the critical mission of sealing off the enemy's advance, which had reached Stalino. It was essential to act quickly and decisively to stop the momentum of the enemy and avoid further incursions into German-controlled territory. During this difficult period, the division received reinforcements in the form of a battalion of Estonian volunteers, who formed the SS Panig Nava Volunteer Grenadier Battalion. These dedicated soldiers reinforced the division's strength and brought renewed determination to the ongoing conflict. The division received urgent orders to withdraw to Ukraine, specifically to the southern area of Kiev. This region had recently been evacuated by the 2nd SS Panic Corps of Obrin Durapal House and was now the center of intense fighting, as attempts were made to recover it. Erich von Manstein, the newly appointed commander of Army Group South, deployed the 5th SS Viking Division along with the 11th Panzer Division to confront the Soviet Popov Mobile Group. This Soviet unit posed a significant threat, as its goal was to penetrate the crucial railway line. However, the 5th SS Viking Division encountered significant difficulties in confronting the heavily armored Soviet formation and struggled to effectively counter its armored vehicles. The Panic Grenadier regiments of the 5th SS Viking Division were exhausted and fatigued as a result of the harsh battles in the Caucasus region. Their ranks were depleted, with many soldiers exhausted by the relentless combat conditions they endured. In addition, the Panzer Battalion faced a daunting challenge due to its insufficient armored resources, leaving it unable to effectively confront the formidable Soviet force. This combination of manpower shortages and limited armored capability placed additional pressure on the division, which faced the advance of the enemy. Despite these challenges, the division fought hard to repel the Soviet assault and managed to protect the crucial railway line, contributing to the final defeat of the Popov Mobile Group. Following the reconquest of Kiev, the 5th SS Viking Division was withdrawn from frontline combat operations to undergo a period of reconditioning and reorganization, becoming a fully equipped Panzer Grenadier Division. Music, thanks to the initiatives of Paul House, an important decision was made regarding the structure of the Waffen SS Panzer Grenadier divisions. It was decided that each division would be equipped with a panzer regiment instead of just a battalion. This transformation essentially elevated the SS Panzer Grenadier formations to the status of full-size panzer divisions, albeit without the official designation. As part of this upgrade, an infantry battalion within each division received half-tracks to improve mobility. In addition, plans were put in place to create an additional panzer battalion, the formation of which began on February 28, 1943. In mid-1943, the 5th SS Viking Division underwent significant changes. The group and Führersteiner, now in command, were reassigned to lead the 3rd Germanic SS Panzer Corps, then in formation in Croatia. Herbert Otto Geller, who would later prove to be as capable as Steiner, took his place. In addition, the experienced Cement Nordland Regiment and its commander Fritz von Schultz were separated from the division to form the core of the newly created 11th Volunteer Panic Grenadier Nordland Division. In addition, the Finnish Volunteer Battalion of the Waffen SS was dissolved, marking the end of the agreed 2-year service period for Finnish volunteers. These changes restructured the composition of the division and reflected the changing dynamics within the Waffen SS during this period of the war, in an effort to compensate for the Nordland Regiment. The newly created Estonian Volunteer Unit, the Nawa Estonian Volunteer Panzer Grenadier Battalion, was integrated into the division amid the restructuring process of this. The division faced sporadic encounters with partisan groups, demonstrating its continued commitment even during periods of reorganization. In late June, the comprehensive restructuring was completed, marking a major milestone for the division. Shortly thereafter, the division was transferred to IOM, where it was entrusted, along with the 23rd Panzer Division, assuming the role of reserve force of the Manstein Army Group, strategically positioned in anticipation of Operation Cittadella. This location underscored the division's crucial role in the upcoming major offensive on the Eastern Front. As Operation Cittadella unfolded, multiple Soviet formations launched coordinated attacks against wards Orel and Kiev simultaneously. The 5th SS Viking Division was involved in heavy fighting against advancing Soviet forces near Kharkiv. During this intense period, the Estonian volunteers of the division distinguished themselves by their exceptional skill and bravery, destroying approximately 100 Red Army tanks over the course of several days. Despite the cancellation of Operation Citadel, the division remained steadfast in its commitment to halt the Soviet advance, reflecting its resilience and dedication on the battlefield at that time. Further south, along the Meuse front, the German lines faced a significant threat from a major Red Army offensive known as Operation Ranf. In response, the 5th SS Viking Division, along with the 3rd SS Totenkopf Panzer Division and the 2nd SS Panzer Grenadier Das Reich Division, were deployed to the Mus-Bokov sector with the aim of halting the advance of Soviet forces engaged in fierce combat. The SS division successfully repelled the Soviet attack and achieved a remarkable victory by defeating 2 Soviet tank armies totaling more than 1,000 tanks. In the process, the German forces managed to destroy more than 800 enemy tanks, slowing the Soviet offensive and stabilizing the front. Throughout this period, the SS divisions suffered from severe shortages, with no more than 50 operational panzers available at any given time. Despite the heavy losses inflicted on Soviet forces, they managed to take Kiev on August 23rd and subsequently launched an advance towards the Dnieper River. In October, the division was once again withdrawn from the front, this time for a complete restructuring. It was reorganized into an officially designated division as the 5th SS Viking Panzer Division. This restructuring marked a significant evolution in the division's capabilities and strategic role on the Eastern Front. In order to improve the combat capabilities of the division, the Wound Volunteer Unit, the 5th SS Sturm Brigade, under the command of Lion Degel, was incorporated into it. Initially received with skepticism and mockery by many veterans of the Viking Division, the Wallen unit proved its worth during the intense fighting for a forest near Tano. Located at the forefront of a salient that penetrated into the Soviet lines, they proved their effectiveness in battle and earned the respect of their comrades. Additionally, in an attempt to further reinforce the division, the formation of a 2nd Panzer Battalion in Germany was ordered. This expansion reflected the continuous efforts to reinforce the firepower and combat readiness of the division in the face of the growing challenges on the Eastern Front, while the 5th SS Viking Division was fighting near Tano. Several tank formations of the Red Army maneuvered along the flank of the salient and successfully surrounded the German forces of the 42nd and 11th Army Corps near Korsun. In the Battle of the Tsun Chassis Pocket that followed, the 5th SS Viking Division defended the pocket from Soviet attacks on the eastern side, while General of Artillery Wilhelm Schemann, commander-in-chief of the pocket, repositioned his forces to the west to prepare for a breakthrough attempt. In the midst of these events, the 5th SS Viking Division, along with the 5th SS STM Brigade, was ordered to act as a rearguard with the mission of covering the retreat of German forces and ensuring their exit from the surrounded area. I remember the glacial cold of that February morning as we prepared to face the enemy again. My breath condensed before me and mixed with the smoke from nearby bonfires. The battle had been going on for days, and our division was surrounded by the Red Army. Like a one-fur in the 5th Painter Division, I was clear about my obligations, to lead my men with courage and determination. We were hardened veterans, forged in the crucible of the Eastern Front, but even the most experienced soldiers could feel the weight of doom that loomed over us. The Soviet forces had surrounded us, and their artillery bombarded our positions relentlessly. We fought to hold our positions, knowing that retreat meant certain death. The fate of our division hung by a thread as we prepared for the attack. I remember the deafening roar of the tanks and the crackle of gunfire as the enemy launched their assault. Our defenses were tested to the limit as waves of Soviet troops advanced, but we refused to surrender, stubbornly clinging to our positions amid chaos and carnage. In the midst of the fighting, I witnessed acts of heroism that will forever be etched in my memory. Men who sacrificed themselves to cover the retreat of their comrades, intrepid tank crews who threw themselves headlong into combat, and medics who risked their lives to attend to the wounded. But for every moment of courage, there were countless instances of suffering and loss. The battlefield was strewn with the fallen, both friends and enemies. Each life lost was a stark reminder of the cost of war, a cost that weighed heavily on my conscience. After the successful defense against numerous Soviet attacks near the city of Novaya Buda, the rear guard of the 5th SS Viking Division began its cautious retreat, moving under cover of darkness, with each platoon withdrawing separately as they advanced through the treacherous terrain known as Hell. The division faced intense enemy fire that caused significant casualties and losses in both men and equipment during the terrible experience of the Korsun Pocket. Throughout the chaotic retreat, the division commander, Giller, demonstrated an unwavering dedication to his men, fighting alongside them and remaining at the center of the action until all the survivors escaped safely. Surprisingly, he was one of the last to cross the Gano-Taikish River to reach safety after the conclusion of this battle. The 5th SS STM Wonen Brigade was withdrawn from the division, marking the end of its service alongside the Vikings. After a brief period of recovery and reorganization, the 5th SS Viking Division deployed to assist in the defense of Koval, which faced a major threat from a formidable Soviet force under the command of Giller. The division advanced towards the city and quickly began to establish a defensive perimeter in anticipation of the imminent enemy encirclement as the Red Army approached. The 2nd Battalion of the SS Panzer V Viking Regiment, equipped with newly arrived Panther tanks, and the 3rd Battalion of the SS Pana Grenadier Germania Regiment, fully equipped and with all its personnel, arrived at the front from Germany. These reinforcements immediately began to organize a relief force intended to break the encirclement and provide support to the besieged defenders in Koval. The unit was led by Ober-St. Führer Karl Nikoli Lech, who served as commander of the 8th Company of the 2nd Battalion of the SS Panzer V Viking Regiment. In a bold maneuver, Nicolo Lu initiated an attack with 5 tanks upon receiving the order to stop and withdraw from the commander. Despite the withdrawal order, Nicholas Yeltsin ignored it and continued with the assault, determined to break the encirclement. Music, risking a possible court-martial. Nicolo Lech's Panther led the charge, facing the enemy forces and destroying several tanks along the way thanks to his determination. His tank was the first to successfully break the Red Army encirclement. In recognition of his courage and leadership, Nicolosi Lu was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for his music actions following the successful establishment of a corridor by the relief forces to assist the trap forces. The withdrawal process began. In contrast to the previous encirclement in Korsun, the Viking Division managed to evacuate with most of its equipment. In late August 1944, the division was ordered to return to the fortress of Mlin on the Vistula River line near Warsaw, where it would join the newly formed Army Group Vistula, fighting alongside the LOF Raffer Hermann Göring Panzer Division. The division annihilated the 3rd Tank Corps of the Red Army, 3rd Tank Corps of the Red Army in this place in very fierce fighting. The outbreak of the Warsaw Uprising halted the Soviet offensive, and a relative peace settled on the front, as in Warsaw. The high command of the SS and the police, Erich von Buchtesky, destroyed Warsaw with its civilians and the National Army. During the remaining months of the year, the division maintained its position in the Modlin region, operating alongside the 3rd SS Totenkopf Division and the 4th SS Panzer Corps. Herbert Ayla, who demonstrated leadership, was promoted to command of the newly created SS Panzer Corps after a period of transition under the temporary command of OB Führer Dr. Edward Deisenhofer. The division was taken over by the Sergeant Führer Johannes Mühlenkamp, who had previously held authority over the SS Painter V Viking Regiment. During this time, the Modlin region was embroiled in fierce defensive fighting, as the division diligently fortified its positions against relentless enemy pressure. Despite the challenges posed by the ongoing battles, the division remained steadfast in its commitment to defend the area. October saw a change in command, when Obura Karl Ree succeeded Mühlenkamp, assuming command of the division for the remainder of the conflict. Under Ree's leadership, the division continued to play a key role in the defense of Modlin, firmly holding its positions against enemy incursions and ensuring the stability of the front line in the face of adversity. In late December 1944, the 5th SS Viking Division found itself at the forefront of a crucial moment in the tumultuous landscape of the Eastern Front, as the German forces defending Budapest faced encirclement by enemy forces, including the 9th SS Mountain Corps. The urgency of the situation became undeniable, and in response to the unfolding crisis, the 4th SS Panzer Corps, including the Viking Division, received a crucial order to rapidly redeploy south. This redeployment was not a simple routine maneuver, but a vital component of Operation Conrad, a meticulously planned and executed relief effort to break the siege of Budapest. There's a lot at stake, and the success of the operation depended on the speed and coordination of the actions of the 4th SS Panzer Corps, which had to join forces with the 6th Army of Hermann Balsexto's 6th Army under the command of the Balk Army Group. As the division prepared to embark on this arduous task, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on the soldiers and commanders alike. Everyone understood the critical nature of their mission and the pivotal role they would play in attempting to reverse the fortunes of the war in this crucial theater. Music at dawn on January 1st, 1945, the 5th SS Panzer Division Viking was ready to fulfill its role in Operation Conrad I alongside its counterpart, the 3rd SS Panzer Totenkopf Division. The division embarked on a crucial offensive near the city of Tarda, amidst the icy winter landscape. The advanced columns of the Viking Division advanced with roaring engines as they faced the formidable 4th Guards Army of the Red Army. The clash that ensued was monumental, as the enemy forces clashed with relentless ferocity. In the heat of battle, the Viking Division demonstrated its mettle, and its armored units unleashed devastating firepower upon the enemy ranks. The roar of artillery and the chatter of machine guns echoed across the snow-covered plains as the division advanced despite staunch resistance. The Viking and Totenkopf divisions proved to be formidable adversaries, and their combined power wreaked havoc on the Red Army ranks. In the crucible of combat, the battlefield witnessed the destruction of numerous enemy tanks, highlighting the skill and courage of the German panzer divisions. As the day progressed, the intensity of the battle only increased, with both sides engaged in a desperate struggle for supremacy. For the soldiers of the Viking Division, it was a moment of truth, a test of their determination and commitment. In just 3 days, the 5th SS Viking Panzer Division and the 3rd SS Totenkopf Panzer Division traversed rugged terrain in their advance towards Budapest, covering an impressive distance of 45 kilometers in such a short time, highlighting the speed and efficiency with which the divisions operated despite the enormous obstacles posed by the terrain. The divisions advanced with determination, their tanks rattling along muddy roads and rocky terrain. The harsh winter did not prevent their advance, which was getting closer to its objective. However, the Soviet forces, aware of the seriousness of the German advance, quickly mobilized their troops to halt the momentum of the advancing divisions. Strategically maneuvering, they positioned their forces to intercept the German advance, setting the stage for a fierce and decisive confrontation. As the German forces approached the town of Bixk, just 28 kilometers from Budapest, they encountered determined resistance from Soviet troops. The ensuing battle was intense and grueling, with both sides engaged in a desperate struggle for control of strategically vital territory. The German divisions were ultimately stopped thanks to the determined defense of the Soviet forces. The proximity of Budapest loomed tantalizingly close, but out of reach, as the front remained the subject of fierce fighting. Recognizing the need for a strategic repositioning, Gilles made the decision to withdraw the Viking division from the front and relocate it to the southern outskirts of Esztergom, near the bend of the Danube. This measure was part of the preparations for the second relief attempt, called Operation Conrad II, which began on January 7th in the midst of the glacial cold and incessant snowfall. The soldiers of the Viking division advanced with difficulty, approaching with each step their objective, with their spirits dampened by knowing that they were approaching the heart of the conflict. At dawn on January 12th, the SS Panzergrenadier Regiment Westland was on the outskirts of Pistaša-Balks, a small town nestled in the middle of the winter landscape. Although exhausted from the arduous journey, the soldiers pressed on, driven by a sense of duty and anticipation for what awaited them. As the morning sun struggled to penetrate the thick fog that covered the field, an extraordinary sight greeted the Panzer Grenadiers through the fog. The distinctive silhouettes of the spires and towers of the churches of Budapest emerged, projecting a surreal and disturbing presence against the backdrop of the frozen landscape. Despite the initial success of the operation, as the days passed, it became increasingly evident that the forces involved had extended beyond their capabilities, The supply lines had become strained, and the depleted resources left them vulnerable to counterattacks, preventing them from making the most of the gap they had achieved amidst the chaos of battle and the pressing demands of the front. The opportunity to consolidate their gains slipped from their grasp, and, instead, they found themselves in a precarious position, with no option but to withdraw and regroup to avoid being overrun by the enemy. Hitler's reaction to the situation was one of frustration and anger. His disappointment at the lack of progress erupted, and he denounced the entire operation as completely useless. This harsh judgment underscored the magnitude of the lost opportunity and the failure to capitalize on the initial success of the offensive. In a new effort to liberate the besieged city of Budapest, a third attempt was carried out with Operation Conrad III in collaboration with the experienced 3rd Panzer Corps. This operation took place approximately 100 kilometers south of the previous clashes and began on January 20th. This offensive proved to be decisive. The coordinated assault opened a 15 kilometers wide gap in the Soviet lines, creating a significant breach in their defenses. In the ensuing chaos, the 135th Rifle Corps of the Red Army suffered devastating losses, culminating in its destruction on the battlefield. Despite the promising start, the Soviets' rapid response to deploy additional troops frustrated German efforts to achieve a breakthrough, effectively halting the operation on January 28th. As January came to an end, the number of casualties from the fierce fighting in the 5th SS Viking Division and the 3rd SS Totenkopf Division was evident. More than 8,000 casualties had occurred, with more than 200 officers among the fallen. At that time, it was becoming a real bloodbath, and the streets were littered with corpses. On February 13th, the besieged forces finally surrendered, marking a dark chapter for the Germans in the history of the conflict. Following this devastating defeat, the much-depleted division was ordered to move west to Lake Balaton, where Oberstgruppenführer Sepp Dietrich's 6th SS Panzer Army was gathering for another offensive, marking a change in the theater of operations for the battle-weary division. During the Frühlingserwachen offensive, the 5th SS Viking Division played a crucial role in defending the left flank of the operation, operating in the region between Velensadu and Székesfehérvár. As the offensive progressed, the division became deeply involved in fierce fighting, working tirelessly to thwart Soviet attempts to flank the advancing German forces. However, when the momentum of the offensive began to falter, the Red Army launched a formidable counteroffensive known as the Vienna Operation on March 15th, aimed at the vulnerable gap between the 3rd SS Totenkopf Division, located north of the Viking, and the 2nd Hungarian Armored Division. The Soviets quickly took advantage of the situation, and contact between these formations was soon lost amid the chaos of battle, further complicating the already precarious situation on the Eastern Front. In response to the emerging threat, Balck proposed relocating the 1st SS Panzer Division north to cover the vulnerable gap and prevent the encirclement of the 4th SS Panzer Corps. However, despite Balck's rapid action and recommendation, the issuance of an order from the Führer authorizing this maneuver was delayed, resulting in critical time being lost. When the order was finally received and the divisions began their relocation, precious time had already been lost. On March 22nd, the Soviet encirclement of the Totenkopf and Viking divisions was almost complete, leaving them on the verge of isolation and possible annihilation. In a desperate attempt to avoid the total siege, Balck made the bold decision to deploy the hardened 9th SS Panzer Stalin Division in the area, tasking them with the mission of keeping a small exit corridor open despite facing overwhelming superiority. Stalin fought hard to keep the corridor clear, suffering heavy casualties in the process. In the agonizing battle to maintain control of the Beta corridor, Hohenstaufen suffered immense losses, but his sacrifice allowed the Corps of Gil to break free from tight Soviet control and evade the complete siege on March 24th. The relentless Soviet attacks forced the exhausted 4th SS Panzer Corps to hastily retreat towards Vienna amid the chaos of battle. All communication with the neighboring 1st SS Panzer Corps was interrupted, and any glimpse of an organized defensive line evaporated. Faced with overwhelming opposition, the Viking division executed a tactical retreat into Czechoslovakia, fighting fiercely to postpone the Soviet advance. In early May, the division found itself near American forces, marking a dramatic shift in the theater of operations. It officially surrendered near First and Feld, Austria, on May 9th. The journey of the Viking Division from the Eastern Front to the hands of the Allies marked the end of its tumultuous and exhausting campaign in World War II. During the night of May 12 to 13, 1945, the command section of the 5th SS Panzer Viking Division arrived at the American barricades near Rajut and Vrain, where the division formally surrendered. Their intentions in dealing with the Americans were twofold. First, to avoid being handed over to the Soviets and instead head straight to Germany, and second, to travel in their own vehicles. The Americans accepted these conditions, and on June 1, 1945, the Vikings departed from Wagrain in a large convoy accompanied by a minimum of guards and without incident. The convoy route passed through many cities before reaching Einig. During the journey, the march appeared almost like a triumph, with crowds lining the streets to cheer and offer cigarettes, flowers, and food to the passing vehicles, despite the presence of American soldiers on the corners. While traveling along the secondary road, a high-ranking American officer in a jeep overtook the column, stood up, and saluted while shouting words of encouragement to the Viking division. However, these moments of apparent victory were soon overshadowed by the conditions in the Allied camps, which turned out to be terrible, with epidemics of hunger and maltreatment taking a heavy toll on the SS veterans. Despite the hardships, the achievements of the Viking division during the war were remarkable throughout the conflict. Its members received a total of 67 Knight's Crosses, including 3 unconfirmed, 8 with oak leaves, 3 with swords, and 1 with diamonds. The Viking division was truly unique, to say the least. Even after the war, the Allies always treated them with respect and admiration. They were highly appreciated by everyone, to the point that even American soldiers greeted them daily. At the end of the war, weariness had taken hold of all the soldiers, and behind the uniforms, camaraderie often flourished between men on all sides. However, even today, the 5th Panzer Viking Division is still recognized as one of the most exceptional divisions of the Third World War. Finally, don't forget to check out our video sponsor below for a huge bonus package on all platforms. This exclusive offer includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor Vehicle Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. As always, I hope you have gained something valuable from our time together today. I am grateful that we were able to embark on this journey together. Don't forget to explore more content on my Patreon and Instagram, whose links you will find below. A special thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Your support means a lot. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe, as it is a great support for this channel. Finally, as always, I look forward to our next adventure together. Until then, goodbye for now. Music, music.